Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Cindy Gomez-Schempp, and
this is Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And tonight, on a Mexican Crossing Lines, I got a Caravan clapback for you. There's some people that got upset with my reporting recently. It happens, you know.
Wow, wow, wow.
Sometimes we make people upset with our reporting.
Yeah.
But I have information to share with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you don't get mad at me, Duke, because, Pastor Albert just sent me something. And it is an article that includes pictures of the children that are missing. I just put it into our show document. And I suggest that you grab it because I'm going to share it. And I think it's very important for people to see the pictures of the children that are missing.
Yeah.
These children, as you know, I'm going to be talking, giving you an update on the kidnapping, the missing children from the Agape shelter tonight. I literally just received this message as I was going live. But it's important. It's important for me to share with you what is going on with those kids. Oscar El Blue Ramirez contacted me yesterday in the evening and told me that because of his efforts to expose this Guatemalan man who is accused of smuggling people, including minors that are not accompanied, into the United States, had his page taken down.
How did you send it to me?
Oh, it is a link on the document of our show. And it is highlighted by me currently on the page because it is an important article. If you link on, I have this link for everyone to look at. Nemo, if you could toss it into the comments of the show, people can go take a look at it. Of course, it's in Spanish, and I apologize for that. But it's got the pictures, and that's the most important part. I really just want the pictures of these two children to be available to the public so that people can be on the lookout for them. That is the most important thing. In addition to that, I will be covering on tonight's show more on Paola Mendoza, the Colombian filmmaker, actress, activist that's been working with Mark Lane of the Minority Humanitarian Foundation. They have been working to bring people into the United States to request asylum. They've focused on specific families. One of those families was a mother with her child with Down syndrome, Mary and Javi. Another was a little girl in a wheelchair with cerebral palsy named Leslie and her dad. I showed you some of those images before. I will be covering some of that again and telling you more about Paola Mendoza and Families Belong Together, the organization that she is part of, as well as the Women's March, which she co-founded. Okay, that's very important. We've talked about the Women's March and people that are part of the Women's March, including Tamika Mallory and Linda Sarsour, and how they have been involved in a lot of the activism all the way going back to Standing Rock and to the present, with the campaigns that we've seen a lot of these people from Standing Rock working on today, right now. In addition to that, we're going to be talking about how this Family Belongs Together work is being promoted by another recurrent person in Hollywood, Mr. Mark Ruffalo. We saw him out at Standing Rock. He has been constantly part of the activism that involves these same people that I've been investigating for over 2.5 years now. And whenever I see that guy, I mean, he's top echelon of this pyramid of poo. But Mark Ruffalo is getting involved with the caravans. That's a great concern to me. And who he's doing it with is this Paola Mendoza's organization. So that's something to keep an eye out. Finally, I want to talk to you about Sophia Marie de Loreto Churi. She was very upset with my reporting about her. She reported our YouTube channel, and she made some public statements saying that we basically lied about her.
Yeah.
So I'm going to address some of that in tonight's show. I'm going to talk more about her since she feels the need to clap back. I will be responding on tonight's show here on Mexican Crossing Lines. But first, I want to thank everyone that has sent me their support. I have a really big project to announce. I was hoping I would get a chance to announce it today, but I'm going to wait until Monday to tell you about it.
Okay.
What were you going to say, Duke?
Nothing. No. You can wait. Sooner the better, I think.
You think I should just announce it today?
Sure. Why not?
Okay.
No.
I'll do it. I'm going to do it. Okay, here it is. I've been working with a professor named Guadalupe Correa Cabrera, and we are working on a network, a report, a network analysis of the people involved in manipulating this caravan, exploiting the caravan, and organizing the caravan. She is an expert in the field. She's a professor at George Mason University, and there is a conference. She was the president of this group of academics last year. They have the ABS conference, it's called. ABS conference in San Diego, which takes place next month. She asked me to write an academic paper to be published and then to be presented at this San Diego conference to a group of the world's leading and oldest academic organization in this field. I am told that people from Al Otro Lado and Border Angels will be present at this event, so it's going to be quite interesting turn of events for everyone involved that Professor Correa Cabrera and myself are going to be presenting at this conference. I do not have the funds to go to this conference as of yet, but I am hoping that I will be able to raise them. So any of you out there that really want to see this mug in California next month with this professor confronting the BS that we are being told every day in the media about these caravans, please donate to KPPP LP. You can go right to the donate page, click on donate.
Yeah, you go to kpppfm.com/donate. Any funds we raise, you can also earmark funds when you do a donation. But I'd like to take any donations we receive and put it towards Cindy's transportation costs to be able to go present at this conference. Is very important. The presentation, for her to be there, it would be very effective. It's going to legitimize a lot of the work, and it's going to spread it around to a lot of people all over the country, all over the world. So go to kpppfm.com/donate. Make a donation to KPPP. There's a donation link right there. It's a tax-deductible donation, and we can legitimately send her through the organization to this conference. So please make a donation.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your support. I'm only asking because this is a project that came to me very short notice. I have been working on it for a little bit yet, and I've tried to raise the funds myself, but I'm going to be short. And this conference is literally right around the corner in the middle of April. It's on the 24th, right, Duke?
Yep.
So anything that you guys can do to get me there and spread the truth about the caravans would be greatly appreciated. Now, to get to the show. Oh, wait. I want you to tell folks how to get a hold of us and send us information. I really appreciate all the information y'all have been sending me lately. It's been invaluable. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your support. Duke, how can folks get a hold of us?
Well, I'd like to thank people, too, for doing all the work that you've been doing, the information you've been sending us. We use a lot of it, and we bank a lot of it. You can send it through Facebook. It seems to be the main place where people send it, to 88.1 FM Fargo-Moorhead. We have a couple more Facebook pages, too. It's People's Press Project and Mexi-Can. But you can do email. Email for Cindy is cindy@kpppfm.com. For me, it's Duke at kpppfm.com. If you want to follow us on YouTube, go to Duke1517 and subscribe and click the little bell. We take all the videos that we do in high definition, and we upload them to YouTube, and they stay on Facebook, as long as Facebook leaves them up. You can tweet us at Mediascore. You can tweet us at media_PPP. And don't forget to go to kpppfm.com, kpppfm.com, and have a look at our archive programs. You can go to the programs and look at a Mexican Crossing Line and see all the most current programs. Everything is current as of today. And also that donate button, kpppfm.com/donate. Any donations we receive, we're going to put towards the cost of getting Cindy out to San Diego to present this very important paper and analysis, and putting it out into a realm that is not in at this time. And also, if locally, those listening on the radio, because we are in Fargo-Moorhead, we're broadcasting on the air. When the show is done and we edit it for the air, you can contact us at our message line if you'd like to leave us a message, a voice message. It's 701-566-0917, 701-566-0917. So we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and I'm very sorry for what has happened to Oscar El Blue Ramirez. He was put in Facebook jail.
He was?
Yeah, because he was exposing the identity of the human smuggler guy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so he posted about that on his page, and they put him in Facebook jail. I mean, it's incredible to me how well protected these criminals are.
Well, too, it's also in Mexico, because I put his ID as a main image on our stories and on Facebook, and we don't want to say anything more, I guess. But but I do notice in Mexico that they're a lot stricter about copyrighted content and those sorts of things. So it's like
folks,
we have to be careful and not put him in those positions.
Yeah, share this out, please. Make sure that you tell everyone. The link to the article is in the comments of the show, article about the missing children from the Agape Shelter from the Tijuana Press. And the missing children's names are Jennifer Gabriela Gonzalez. She was birthday 27 of December 2003. We have Rosy Garcia Serrano, both minors, okay? And then you have a child named John Carlos Garcia Serrano, 1.5 years of age. Those are the children. Jennifer Gabriela Gonzalez. And you have the two children up on the screen right now are Jennifer Gabriela Gonzalez, date of birth 27 of December 2003, and Rosy Garcia Serrano. The little baby on the woman's lap is her child. The 15-year-old girl's picture there, she's got a 1.5-year-old baby on her lap. That baby is John Carlos Garcia Serrano. These are the children that are missing. 2 minor children, according to this article printed on the 27th of March. Says that 2 minor children that were unaccompanied minors that came with the caravan that wanted to request asylum in the United States are now missing, disappeared. Nobody knows exactly where Jennifer Gabriela Gonzalez, age 15, or Rosy Garcia Serrano, age 17, have gone. Rosy is the mother of a child that is 1.5 years of age, who is also missing along with her. These children, I was told by the pastor, these particular girls are the exact children that met with Senator Jeff Merkley. In his communication with me, Pastor Rivera told me that Senator Jeff Merkley wanted to meet with unaccompanied minors. He specifically wanted to talk to these 2 young ladies that are now missing. By the way, they had a closed-door, secret conversation with Senator Jeff Merkley that only the pastor, Jeff Merkley, and 1 other Mexican official were part of. No media was allowed in that room. Senator Jeff Merkley returned to the U.S., and he published a Medium article. You can go and look for it yourself when he came back to the United States after being at Pastor Rivera's shelter. Pastor Rivera tells me that he told Jeff Merkley that American activists, extremist activists, were actually housing in secret sort of underground railroad style apartments and rooms or homes that they've rented. They were housing these unaccompanied minors in a clandestine fashion with no accountability, and that it concerned him greatly that they were at risk of being exploited. Senator Jeff Merkley does not mention anything about that in his Medium opinion piece about unaccompanied minors. What he does say is that he feels that unaccompanied minors should have a way of requesting asylum in the United States. That is his goal. That is his wish. That's what he wants for these kids, even though, to date, I don't know of a legal route for that to occur, since you have to have a guardian. If you're a child, you have to have a guardian request asylum for you. We'll be talking more about this. We will be talking more about these children, these particular children, about Senator Merkley, and about all of this unaccompanied minor stuff very, very soon. It kind of fits with the theme of today's show anyway. So let me just get to that. We were talking about these other children that have been used sort of like poster children for the asylum claims that have been brought into the United States, highly publicized, like the case of Javi and his mom. Paola posted about this on her Instagram. This is Paola Mendoza, the Colombian actress. Here's the photo of Javi's mom crying. And you can see from Paola's Instagram that she posted from that she is talking about the why is it not in here?
This right here?
Oh, could you read that, please, honey?
I sure can.
I can't find it in mine for some reason.
Paola Mendoza was told there was a young boy who had Down syndrome, whose mother was very sick. I immediately went looking for them. I found Anna in her tent under a mound of blankets. I asked if anyone knew where her son was, but everyone pointed me in conflicting directions. Just then, the mother began to stir. She sat up and asked if I could help her. She told me she felt very sick. She had spent the day in various offices getting her paperwork in order for her asylum case. That's all it has on it.
Now, I just want to point this out, okay? Javi's mom and the boy, they were at the they were staying in the I believe that they were part of the group of people that was staying in the streets outside of Benito Juarez.
Okay.
And those migrant caravan people were seen as part of a resistance that was manipulated by activists. So I found that very interesting. And here is the next post from her Instagram. This one is about Juan Mario and Liliana. I thought it was Juliana. Sorry about that. I guess it's Liliana. Could you read this one too, Duke?
Okay. Paola Mendoza. This is Juan Mario. His daughter is Ileana. Hold on, Cindy. One momento.
Aren't you reading?
Yes, there we go. This is Juan Mario. His daughter, Liliana, is 7 years old. She has cerebral palsy. Ileana's mother abandoned her once she was diagnosed with her illness. Juan Maria lives and breathes for his daughter. He joined the caravan because medical care back home was scarce. Juan Mario and Liliana traveled together in the caravan. He pushed Liliana in a stroller the entire way. There were numerous times along their journey he was forced to probably do all sorts of things.
That's as far as it goes. So I just wanted to point out how she has been, just like so many of the other people, like Mark Lane, like Ari Harnorvar, so many of these folks have been focused on these same people. There's a reason to keep your eye on that. And here is part of Paola Mendoza's background. Remember, she's an actress. She was in a documentary film called Entre Nos, basically about the story of her life. In this documentary film, based on her own life, she plays her mother.
Okay. I remember you talking about that.
Yep. Here is part of the a video that I found on it where people are giving reviews of the documentary. Take a listen.
It was amazing. I cried the whole movie.
I'm going to be recommending it to as many people as I can.
The film was absolutely amazing, very moving.
It's a beautiful story.
I wanted to tear up numerous times in the movie. It was so great. You gotta see it.
I love the film. Well done, fabulous. I mean, I must have cried so much. But thank you.
Entre Nos is a film that was inspired by my mother's story. My mother and I and my brother came to this country to be reunited with my father, and when we got here, he abandoned us. We came to the United States for a better life, for a better future. We immigrants have a crazy work ethic because we're constantly trying to strive to get ahead. So I'm very proud to be a child of an immigrant. Entre Nos humanizes immigrants. We need to really understand what it means to be an immigrant and take it out of those polarizing headlines and instead bring it to people and put it into their hearts and hopefully into their minds. What's amazing about being an immigrant is that you have this bi-cultural experience. I think what's great about the United States is that my dreams have been accomplished here. They have superseded what I imagined myself to be doing. And I think that that is what is the heart of America and what is the heart of immigrants and what is the heart and the hope of the immigrant experience. I think immigrants make for a stronger America.
I struggle when I see things like this being sort of astroturfed. Issues like this about immigration astroturfed by people that are in Hollywood because they are definitely not the best representatives of what actually happens to migrants in the present, what's happening to migrants within the system. I myself have been tracking what is going on in immigration policy and detention facilities and the changes in immigration law throughout my career, throughout my life, and I still continue to work on that. I have a very unique perspective. As someone that has always been a champion of human rights, there was a time in my life I definitely believed in open borders and I thought that the idea of having a wall was stupid. And I still believe that it is only one step toward trying to fix our immigration problem because it is definitely a problem. And so for me, the fact that this rhetoric has just kind of come about overnight with this non-organic creation of thousands of people coming to our border, and to see all sorts of activists and actors that were heretofore not on the scene, not heard of, had no experience and no background in this work and in knowledge in what's going on, step up into the forefront of the discussion and then tell the people that have been doing this work, like myself, like Guadalupe Correa Cabrera, and like many others of us who have been observing, who have been studying, who've been working in these fields for decades, telling us that we don't know what is best for our people, the people most affected by these issues. And I'm sorry, but I have to beg to differ. I am not going to get out of this. I'm not going to leave this conversation. I'm going to continue to ask for transparency and accountability from the people that are putting themselves front and center in this discussion. And I am going to show you the disparity between what they believe, what they say, and the outcomes for the people they claim they are trying to help, but are not helping. Here's Paola's bio. She's quite an accomplished film director, activist, author, co-founder of The Women's March. She served as artistic director and co-authored the New York Times bestseller, Together We Rise. I'm going to...
Yeah, it's a funny... long ones. Let's have to stretch it out to be able to see it and follow along.
Yeah.
Co-author of the Women's March. She served as its artistic director and co-authored the New York Times bestseller, Together We Rise. Behind the scenes of the protest heard around the world, Mendoza is critically acclaimed film director, whose films have been premiered at the most prestigious film festivals around the world. Her films have continually been tracked. This is really hard to read.
I apologize. Her films have been tracked and blah, blah, blah. Oops. What's going on there? Nope. Third time. There you
go. Her films continually tackled the effects of poverty and immigration on women and children in the United States. She was named one of the Filmmaker magazine's 25 New Faces of Independent Film and is a Tribeca All Access, Film Independent, and Independent Film Week Fellow. She's a co-founder of the SOS Agency and has been the creative director for campaigns fighting for immigrant reform, criminal justice reform,
incarcerated mothers
and women's rights.
Uh-huh.
She is a co-founder and artistic director of the critically acclaimed Resistance Revival Chorus.
Resistance Revival Chorus. So I'm not saying that she has not put herself front and center in this conversation and has been doing so for a while. What I am saying is that somebody that spends their time making documentary films and is part of the Hollywood elite might be a little disconnected from the realities facing migrants in the caravan on the ground today. Might be a little bit disconnected.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just found it very interesting how hostile she was to answer any questions about work that she seems to be very proud to do. When Paloma for Trump was questioning her about what she said to the tear gas lady, the very famous tear gas lady that had the two little kids, when the cloud of tear gas that went viral everywhere. The day that woman crossed into the United States, and Paloma talked to this woman, Maria Mesa, who told her that Paola Mendoza made an agreement to help her when she gets into the United States. Paola Mendoza heard from Maria Mesa that she was going to cross into the United States that night. And she was, according to Paloma, encouraging her to do that. So Paloma confronted her and said, "Are you encouraging this person?" That's what she understood. Maria Mesa understood you encouraging her to cross over illegally, and that you're going to help her out when she gets to the other side. And she's like, "Don't film me anymore." And she covers that screen because she doesn't want that to be known. For somebody that's so comfortable on screen, you would think she wouldn't have any problem with talking about it. Here's something else I wanted to show you from Elle magazine, in which she is talking about migrants in the caravan. It's an article by her. So she is both the storyteller. She is one of the people working with Mark Lane and Al Otro Lado and all of these organizations who are crossing people and also committing fraud along the way, as we have shown you. And she says that she is traveling with a photographer named Keisha Bari, and that she went to Oaxaca. This is an article from November 28 of 2018. And she says that she went to Oaxaca, Mexico, along with the organization Families Belong Together, to join the caravan of Central American refugees traveling to the U.S. border in hopes of being granted asylum. I wanted to see the caravan for myself because it was evident that it was being used as a political football by the Trump administration. And I felt the real stories of the people traveling were not being told. That's an interesting way for these journalists and documentary filmmakers who had heretofore never given a flip about migrants or caravans or anything political having to do with them. All of a sudden, there are hordes of journalists and photographers, quote unquote, journalists and photographers that feel the need to tell the story of the people in the caravan when, again, they never cared before. And they're tracking every move for people like Javi and his mom. and the little girl in the wheelchair. So I found that very interesting. Also, remember that when they are telling these personal stories and they're humanizing the issue, there is a certain level of sophistication that goes into putting together these photojournals, these stories that many times leave out information about how they are staging situations, how they are tracking and using the media to highlight certain people while thousands of other people are just ignored. And how it is that they choose who they're going to highlight, who they're going to help. How are those choices being made? Anyway, I'll share that in the article from Elle Magazine, and also there is one from NBC Latino. If you could go to the NBC Latino, why don't you read that one real quick, Duke?
I don't know if I can even see it. Remember, these are really hard to see on these things, but we'll try. That's not too bad.
Not too bad.
Paola Mendoza depicts the sacrifices immigrant women make in a new novel. Oh, I can barely read this. Immigration is dominating the political conversation these days, but in a new book, The Ones Who Don't Say, actress and filmmaker Paola Mendoza makes it personal, striving to paint a portrait of the extraordinary women who have left their homeland in search of better opportunities in the United States. I wanted to create something about immigrants that was contrast to polarizing headlines. We should be able to think of immigrants as human beings as opposed to nameless people who break the laws, complicate policy, and shouldn't be here, said Mendoza, who was born in Bogota, Colombia, and is now based in Brooklyn, New York. I wanted to show the immigrants that are not here to be a drain on the country or society. I'm a proud immigrant, and I think what I've been able to contribute is characteristic of the majority of immigrants.
I believe that all of the things that she is saying there are true. What I don't appreciate is the behind the scenes, underhanded staging, non-transparent. That part is uncool to me. And I think that it's a manipulation. It's a manipulation of our emotions. It is clickbait. It pits people that have been human rights defenders like myself against carpetbaggers.
Yeah.
That are just, or people that are from the elite that have been pushed into the spotlight to represent this issue and that are not telling the full version of what's going on here, that are not telling you everything. They're not telling you the truth. And I know Paola knows how to manipulate your emotions. You want to know how I know? Because she says so herself. She talks about the importance of manipulating people's emotions, moving people with their hearts. You can get people to do more if you get them to connect to an emotion. And she clearly says, facts don't matter then. You can get people to go outside of what they know. You don't even have to focus on telling them the facts as long as you get to their heart. This is a podcast that she did with childrensrights.org, in which she talks about how you can use art, entertainment, to spark social change, and how this is the purview of actors and actresses and artists like herself. Take a listen to her talking about her history with the Women's March and how you can manipulate emotions if you're an entertainer. Here it is.
And since Donald Trump's election to president, my work has become even more critical in the sense that immigrants, specifically undocumented immigrants, are facing such a horrible reality at the moment. I was one of the co-founders and the artistic directors of the Women's March. And that really was the perfect intersection for my work as an artist and my work as an activist. And so for the past year and a half, I've been focusing specifically on that intersection where art and politics collide. And it's either filled with a tremendous amount of support of people being horrified by what's going on and what has happened, not just within this past month, but what's been happening for the past 2 years since Donald Trump has been president. And so, or it's filled with the opposite of that, which is people, women, older men, younger men, all kinds of different races, basically saying that the people have broken a law and that they deserve to pay for their law, pay for breaking the law, regardless of their stories, any sort of circumstances. There's literally no compassion in their heart. I don't think that those people are bad people. I think they're utterly confused. I think they're lost. And I think that the leader of this country, the president of this country, is very good at gaslighting people to believe that it is the immigrants, it is the undocumented immigrants that are making their lives difficult. And so the people that are lacking in this country, for the most part, want someone to blame, and they're blaming undocumented immigrants.
I think you alluded to this, and obviously artists played a major role in the civil rights movement. What role do you think artists can play in our current political climate?
I think artists have a critical role to play in the political climate that we find ourselves in. There is a reason why authoritarians and despots and dictators, the first thing that they do when they get into power is they kill and silence the artists. And the reason, and this has happened time and time again in history, and the reason that they do this is because they know that artists can talk to the people in ways that politicians cannot, in ways that lawyers cannot, in ways that laws cannot. Artists can talk to the people with their hearts. And it is when you move people with their hearts, not necessarily when you move them intellectually, that they will rise up and they will unite and they will fight towards something that they believe in. And that is the power of artists. And so my question and my challenge to artists in this moment in time is, what is the art that you are making? What is the point? Is the point of art to simply be a mirror to reflect what's happening in society? Or I like to believe that art is actually a hammer with which to shape society. And so if that is the case, then artists, get to work. Do the work that needs to be done, because your voices can change the trajectory of this country. And I talk to artists about this all the time, how their voice, when the truth is being attacked, when the truth rarely exists, when we have this concept, this fallacy of alternative facts, it is the artist's job to be truthful, to simply shine the light on truth, and that is a revolutionary act. And artists can do that in ways that can move the masses.
You know what else is a revolutionary act? Listening.
Yeah. Listening.
Because it's so frustrating for me to hear folks, especially from the progressive or the Democratic Party, talking about facts and looking at evidence, because they're so ideological. I can't even show them or talk to them about what's happening at the border, even though they may have known me for decades or even all of my life, and say, this is serious. This is real. It's you know me. You know what I care about. This is a problem we need to deal with. And then go, oh, you're crazy. Because you're saying something that Trump is saying, so that must mean you're a fascist. You're a crazy person now. I can't talk about things that are really happening just because somebody in the Trump administration has already said them or is also saying them. That is a problem. Mm-hmm. It's a huge problem when we can't talk about what is a common problem for all Americans. We can't come together as Americans to protect our country, our future, our finances. Do you know what this is going to do? I already know what it's doing economically to Mexico. This is going to be a huge economic hit to Mexico. I don't know what's up with this president, but Mexicans we're watching you.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching you, AMLO. We don't like this. We don't like what we're seeing. It's very, very upsetting that you are literally letting Mexico be treated like a welcome mat.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, go ahead, stomp all over our country. And Mexico has had, and it's been a long time, because when I was a child, when I was a very small child, I remember we used to make frequent trips, my whole childhood, my whole adulthood even, to Mexico. I lived there for over a decade of my life. And the economy when I was really young was kind of on par with the United States. Like the peso was pretty on par with the dollar when I was little. And so the economic dive that Mexico's economy took has been one that many people that have watched this whole thing happen throughout their lives didn't think Mexico could pull itself out of. Mexico has had a huge resurgence in its economy, an economic boom in the country. And just as we have, for the first time, seen the Mexican people be able to democratically elect a populist president without anybody interfering in the election, like they did with Andrés Manuel López Obrador, boom. Why is he doing this to Mexico? Why are you taking this opportunity that Mexico and Mexicans, have deposited their trust in you, and literally taking the country into a nosedive? I don't know what it's going to take for Mexico to recover from this, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be good. I think that AMLO needs to put a hard stop on this right away. But I will also tell you that for all of his rhetoric about how he's going to close the southern border and how he's going to stop this, I don't know that Trump can. And I'm not saying that like he doesn't want to. I don't know if he has the authority to. I have seen, and I am seeing, how these different court cases that are being brought against the Trump administration, all of these investigations and all this other crap, is really making it so they're just biding their time. And let me tell you, time is money. Smuggling people back and forth across the United States-Mexico border is money. And there's a whole industry built around housing people, transporting people, detaining people, deporting a whole billions and billions of dollars industry. And everyone that is participating in this in one way or another wants their cut. They want their piece of the action. They may put a veneer over it so that it looks as if they're here to do the Lord's work. They're just here to help. But make no mistake, they want their cut. Paola and the other people around her are actors. You know what those people do? They lie as a job. They're professional liars.
Yeah.
I would go one better, especially as I've seen that the majority of the people that were being handled by this PR machine that brought us Standing Rock and the Indigenous Peoples March and some of the other campaigns that are against his infrastructure projects, including gas and oil pipelines here in the United States, have been either brand spanking new, unheard of faces, or maybe I'm just too old, unknown actors, or they're really older, kind of
has-beens.
Okay, you said it. I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
I'll put my face on the screen. Has-beens instead of yours.
And I would say that these actors, in my opinion, and I may be being harsh, I hope I don't insult someone that is your sacred cow Hollywood actor that you love and have some kind of personal ideology for. But here's how I feel as a whole. The more actors I get to know, the more actors I hear about involved in this activism, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because I know they're professional liars. And as Paola Mendoza just said, they know how to manipulate our emotions to get us to go beyond our logic, our facts and figures and what we already know, and just go at each other and attack each other. When we should be uniting under the banner of protecting our future. Let's call it that. If you don't want to talk about protecting our economy, protecting, like, we're not in a good place in America, so much so that we should be going, to hell with it. There are other ways of bringing a bunch of cheap labor into the country, and that should be much, much better vetted than the ones we're getting right now. Okay? Than this. So, for a lot of reasons, I am here to tell you that the way that this is being done to Mexico and to the United States is not only not the right way to deal with the immigration problem, it is the worst possible, the worst imaginable way that you would want to deal with this if you really gave a flying flip about the people in the caravan, about the poor people of Central America that are being persecuted and blah, 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 blah. Because I think everyone that has any ounce of humanity already feels badly for refugees, already cares about people that are fleeing for their lives. But the truth is, the naked truth is, and it has to be said, a lot of these people are filing false claims. A lot of these people are currently doing something the wrong way, the illegal way, a way in which will not help the people that are undocumented, and a way in which this will not help the future of immigration policy. Your thoughts, Duke?
Well, that when I was listening to her talk about, pulling on the heart, I've been waiting for someone to do a real story, a real story of the immigrant, the migrant from the beginning and their journey. That we start with the journey. And they never talk about how this organic movement happened, or all the things leading up that people would leave with just a backpack, and who they're leaving back in their community. And I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen, and they're telling stories for them, and they do little snippets and a little video and stuff like that. But they're not having people tell their own stories. I mean, it's very, very much our organization, our whole focus is about people telling their own stories, and not having people tell stories for people. And it's all I've seen with these photographers, these filmographers, and all these people. They've been telling the stories for the migrants. And I've yet to hear the actual details of a story from a migrant. I mean, really from the beginning. And also, I have a really big interest in how did they end up jumping on a bus or jumping in a caravan and walking. I mean, what led up to that? What did they have to do to prepare? What did they have to leave behind? What did they grab? Who did they say goodbye to? None of that stuff is ever told. How did they find out about it? Who were they with? Did they know anybody? Any of those things, none of that stuff's being told. And it's really frustrating because it's just the agony and the suffering, there's a lot of agony and suffering with people. But that's all that's being told.
What's really disgusting to me, Duke, is that so many of these people have the same exact rehearsed story. And that it's going to cast doubt on any real cases that need asylum, because it's going to make it harder for legitimate people that have cases of asylum to get that help. Because these folks decided to try to coach a bunch of people to game the system, to use a loophole in a game you're not going to win. In a game that really only has two outcomes. One, where you have a bunch of people deported at the end of it after you pissed a bunch of money, millions of dollars down a rat hole that you can never get back. And alternative B, a bunch of people, thousands and thousands of people, disappear and never show up at their asylum hearings. Has that been the way that things have worked in the past? No. For those of you who are confused, that are listening to the sound of my voice right now and think, what in the world is this woman talking about? Let me just explain to you. Because I hear a lot of people say, Trump is lying, or these people are lying about how they're, these people aren't going to come back to their hearings, etc. The reason that it could be true, and it is true, that in the past, up until now, 80+% of the people that requested asylum hearings showed up at their asylum hearings, and that it could also be true that the president is predicting, and others are predicting, that a large percentage of these people that are now requesting asylum will not show up for their hearings, is because of this. We've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
We haven't had tens of thousands of people showing up at our southern border going, I want asylum. Never happened. A bunch of people trying to file false asylum claims hasn't happened before. We know, we have tracked, we have seen, we have evidence of the fact that this is happening. With the aid of lawyers from Al Otro Lado and other parallel organizations that I have been showcasing here on my show. And guess what? That's the tip of the iceberg of what we know is happening. So yeah, logic would give you the other option, right? If you know that you're coming into the United States, hi, I'm going to request asylum, and the chances of you actually getting asylum after going to that hearing are 97% zero. Like 97%, like you're not going to get it. The other option is you don't show up.
Don't show up.
And you just disappear into the United States.
Hide.
Right? So I have a prediction, just like the president has a prediction, just like many other people have had a prediction as to why these people aren't going to show up. Because even the activists that put them up to this know the majority of them will not qualify. They know it. They've said it. I've played it for you so you could see it. And I've told you that somebody that knows that up front doesn't do this because it would be wrong and unethical, costly, possibly illegal on so many different levels. So I'm going to keep on talking about it. I'm going to keep on talking about these activists and the negative things that they are doing. Even if they call me an anti-immigrant hate group.
That's right, anti-immigrant hate group.
That's what I was called, an anti-immigrant hate group. Here is Paola's Instagram. She is on Instagram with over 100,000 followers.
Oh.
This is why I told you they choose these Hollywood people, Duke, because they are, they have a lot of followers, so they can set styles and fashions and fads.
Influencers.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. They're called influencers. Influencers. There's a great Netflix documentary like Insta Famous and some others, and you can go watch and educate yourself about this new media celebrity. And PR people like the ones that we saw at Standing Rock and like the ones that we're seeing working with the Caravan, they know that there are people out there that are simply influencers. So paying them to work on a campaign is like bringing in a Mark Ruffalo. You got to have a whole bunch of these different types of celebrities and influencers in your portfolio when you're going to take on an international campaign like this. Okay? And Paola is one of the many people that fit into that portfolio. This is some of her Instagram, and you can see that it is focused a lot on immigration issues and talking about immigrants. This is from her Instagram. In this next article from the Washington Post, I will be sharing with you in the comments, you will be able to see never before seen photos from the Women's March meetings that took place in Washington, D.C. As you can see, Paola is prominently featured in this article right at the very top. That is the first picture, and it is of her kicking up her legs with these long, like knee-high boots.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got some kind of fancy coffee sitting there on the table.
Yeah.
She looks very relaxed and in control. I mean, I would say this looks like an old Virginia Slims ad.
Yeah, it does.
Like, you've come a long way.
You've come a long
baby.
way, baby.
Like the after picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you scroll down, there she is again talking to a group for the Gathering for Justice office in New York. The women use paper on the walls not only to keep track of numbers of speakers, but keeping it down to 50, but also to make sure all organizations and issues were represented. And the planning, it says, was led by activist Paola Mendoza. That's our Paola here.
Mm-hmm.
Carmen Perez, Tamika Mallory, and Linda Sarsour.
Okay.
And this began in New York and then moved to the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. Meetings were held in multiple offices, on floors, in hallways, were focused on moving forward and getting everything done. So if you move through this article, you'll see that there are a number of different photos that show these women working and talking to each other in toilets. And that one right there, it says, Women's March producer Ginny Suss tests out the Tatley Women's March temporary tattoos on Genevieve Roth and Alyssa Klein in New York. They're testing on temporary tattoos. Is this a carnival or what?
Yeah.
And then in this next picture, we've got a stage production team meeting was held in the hotel room of the Watergate Hotel. I see Bob, I think, is the name of that person. I can't remember. Paola is in the next picture standing in front of the elevators trying to locate the next meeting room. And then there's another picture of them in a big meeting. The next picture prominently features Paola Mendoza talking to Linda Sarsour, who's just across from Tamika Mallory.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yep.
And they're in the war room at the Watergate Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Paola Mendoza, Carmen Perez, Linda Sarsour, Tamika Mallory. Así me las quería encontrar. That's how I wanted to find these women. I knew they all worked together. Okay. If you scroll down even more, you will see Linda Sarsour. What are they doing? Praying? Yeah. There's something weird's going on in this picture. They're like, yeah, it looks like they're praying. And they're holding their hands up in the air. Looks a little bit culty. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, Paola Mendoza leads the final meeting before the march at the Watergate Hotel. Is in the next picture. When I say she was prominently featured in this article in almost everything and everywhere, I am not joking. Keep scrolling down. And what happened there?
Oh, they're all blurry.
Got pixelated? All of them are?
Yep. All the rest are.
Oh,
I didn't take enough time to let it download.
I see. Okay. Well, in that picture right there that's blurry right now, that's pixelated, Paola Mendoza is the central figure in between the two women. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll see that there is another picture. That one's good. Keep going. Mm-hmm. Past that one. See if the next one's good. There's Linda good. Sarsour taking a picture.
Yep. With
Charlie Brotman. And in the next picture, you've got Tamika Mallory, Carmen Perez, Bob Bland. I was right. It's Bob. Bob is the one with the blonde hair.
Okay.
Jane Ingram. And they're all marching. And then at the very bottom, they've got marchers gathered at 7 a.m. And that's it. Okay, so again, this is a person who is making a name for themselves. Let's not forget, the first thing that she should have at the very beginning of her bio isn't film director or author or activist or Women's March OG or any of that. It should say Hollywood actress. It should say actor. It should say actor. Mm-hmm. It's more accurate. I think that actors and actresses sell themselves because they agree to do these lying things for money. And when it comes to activism, they're not acting and telling you, hey, this was me acting, you know, like I really don't know very much about this topic, but somebody's paying me to do this. And I'm sorry, like if I'm giving the wrong message here, I apologize, because I know it's affecting the real lives of human beings and the economies of several different countries. But they do present as if they mean every word and know everything. And we're supposed to believe that. They don't have to show proof. You just heard Paola tell you, it doesn't matter. That doesn't really matter.
That's right.
Emotions. And who do they work with? Well, I told you Mark Ruffalo's in there. Here's Mark Ruffalo promoting a fundraiser for Families Belong Together. That's the group that Paola is part of. Okay? Here it is. And it's quoting Nelson Mandela, because Nelson Mandela's daughter is part of the Families Belong Together board or founders. So, yeah, there's that. This is from November 26th of 2018. There can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. Nelson Mandela. And then he says, this is Mark Ruffalo. You said, do you have that one?
For some reason, it's not showing up.
What? It's called Mark Ruffalo.
I know, it's right there.
Fundraiser, Families Belong Together. That's it right there.
I know, but it's not showing up.
Oh, it doesn't like you, huh? Maybe you got to move it around or something.
I've tried.
No. What happened to it? That's weird. Anyway, it says these families are exercising their human right to seek asylum. That's what Ruffalo says, okay? Listen to the rhetoric. These families are exercising their human right to seek asylum. Let's help Families Belong Together. Protect them. Protect them. And then he shares a secure actblue.com. Act Blue. Put a pin in that. Remember that. Help bring aid to the refugee caravan fundraiser. Donate $5 or more for families today. And in addition to that, we have a video in which he is also promoting Families Together. Look out for Paola Mendoza, because she's in the video too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We are in the midst of a humanitarian crisis here on U.S. soil. The Trump administration has failed to comply with the court order to reunify all the families that have been separated on the U.S. border.
Families are still being kept apart, and children are being kept in cages. We need to help these families.
You're broken down and tired.
Necesito ayuda. Yo lo único que quiero es que me traigan a mi hijo.
I met Dilma at an airport in Atlanta. My experience with Dilma has been one of long nights of trying to comfort a mother who was desperate to see her son.
People need to know that our country is arresting and putting into for-profit prisons women and children who are coming to our country to seek safety.
She called me on Friday bawling, crying, because she had spoken to Kenneth, who's 8 years old, and for the first time in their 2 months apart, he had cried and begged to come home to her.
Ya son muchos días, y cada día se me hace más difícil.
Every day becomes difficult, more painful.
El hecho de
The fact that I can't be with my son.
El hecho de que yo no lo
The
pueda
fact that I
abrazar.
can't hug him.
There weren't any words to comfort her.
Children are taken away from the moms at night, usually at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, with the pretext that they're going to give the child a bath, or they're going to give them milk, or they're going to feed them. And then they're put into basically holding cells, which are just cages made out of fence wire.
What kind of monsters put children in cages?
It's a crime. It's our crime.
We, the rest of us who care about children, must speak out, must do something like this. We meet the outcry.
We're packing backpacks for the mothers and the children who are leaving the detention centers. We're packing the backpacks with love so that they know that there are people here who care for them, because they have not had much kindness shown to them.
I have been enraged. I have doubted the goodness of people at times. But what has also been extraordinary has been the
love of people, the desire to help.
Silence isn't okay. Feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to sleep.
This family was one of the lucky ones, but many more are not being reunited. And now parents are being forced to pay to get their kids back.
Please join us. Help us reunite these families by donating to Families Belong Together at reunifyfamilies.org.
We will not rest until all the separated children are out of cages and back in their parents' arms.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why are the people that are in this video working with the people that are organizing the caravans and bringing these people here under false pretenses, not telling them that they could be separated from their children, not telling them that there are elements that are organizing these caravans that are smuggling children and trafficking children across the border, that the government of the United States has a duty and a responsibility to check whether or not the children you're bringing into this country are actually yours or whether you smuggled in somebody else's children. That when you bottleneck the system with thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon people, expecting, hoping that nobody's going to check what kids you came in with and what kids you leave with, and they're just going to put you out on the streets and catch and release style, so that we miss, as a country, as a nation, we miss all of these kids that may be getting smuggled. How many have you heard of just on my show alone? How many have I showed you? I showed you videos. I showed you news stories. This isn't made up. You're seeing that this is just one shelter. Just one shelter. Where are those children? Where are these unaccompanied minors? Mm-hmm. Do you know how vulnerable those kids are? So my question is, why are the folks that are crying with the sad music on this video saying, we have to reunite these families, we have to reunite these kids, working with the people that are bottlenecking our system and working hand in glove with people that are being investigated, like Pueblos Sin Fronteras, for human smuggling, for human trafficking by the Interpol, by the FBI, by 2-3 different governments? Mm-hmm. Can someone explain that to me? Why would they do that? Why are they doing that? Why are they feeding both ends of the problem?
Yeah, really.
Why are they the Wonder Women and men of fixing the problem that they helped to create? Why is that the thing that's happening? Why are they put at the forefront of helping and cashing in on the crisis that they are driving toward our border? It's that's one of the greatest miscarriages of justice that I am seeing, because the people that actually want to help folks, they're not being put in the position to do that. The people that are being funded and supported to do this is these folks. The same people that brought you Standing Rock. Same people that brought you the nonsense that happened out at the Indigenous Peoples March. And for some crazy reason, progressive people, they don't care. Don't care. Guess who else he works with? Michael Moore. Yep. Works with Michael Moore. And I've seen his face a lot in all of this. Haven't you, Duke? Like, yeah. We've seen him plenty. We're like, oh, no, Michael Moore.
Yep.
Because these documentary filmmakers like him, like Josh Fox, like this woman, too. I mean, this woman is a filmmaker, right? Mm-hmm. They're making bank off your emotions. They manufacture a thing like Standing Rock. They make documentary film. I mean, they used it like a movie set. Don't you see that they're creating movie sets? At the same time, they're actually changing history. This is freaking... Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay. So now let's get to Miss Sophia Marie.
Yep.
Because she was very upset. She reported our YouTube video. By the way, have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? If you are a follower of this program, A Mexican Crossing Lines, please go to our YouTube channel, Duke. Tell them what it is.
Yes, it's Duke 1517. Duke 1517. Just type that in, and my name, Duke Gomez-Schempp, will actually bring it up too. But the channel's actual title is Duke 1517. You can't change it once you've had one up for a channel for a number of years. But I have so much stuff in there from the past and different things, newscasts and all sorts of material. It's a pretty good channel. And we have all the Mexican Crossing Lines shows on there. We have a playlist for Mexican Crossing Lines. And all the shows go on there. So go to Duke 1517 and subscribe. We need some more subscribers. And then you'll get notified. If you click the little bell, you'll get notified when a new video is put up.
Please do. Please do that. Subscribe and then follow and make sure that you click on the little bell thingy. We need more followers on our YouTube channel.
Or subscribers, they call them.
Subscribers on our YouTube channel. But that's where this post comes from. Because she was not happy.
Not happy.
No. This is what she says. It says, Sophia de Loreto Churi posted it. She said, I am not staff of Representative Barragan. My mother was referring to her re-election campaign, not her official office. Oh, so you do work for her. Did work for her. Have worked for her. Got it. Check.
Yeah. You're associated pretty deeply with her. Helped with the campaign. Whatever. Okay.
Right. Got it. Check. So just because I said staff or aide or whatever, your mama said you worked for her. She didn't specify how, when, or what. And you just verified that it's exactly what I thought. You work for her, worked for her, are connected to Representative Barragan. Stop trying to pretend you're not. Then she says, I am not an aide, nor does my GoFundMe go to Al Otro Lado or Jewish Family Services or the San Diego Rapid Response Network, although I would have no issue supporting either of them for the incredible work that they do. I had nothing to do with the alleged kidnapping, she says in air quotes. She's talking about the boy named Carlos. The first case that I brought to you that Pastor Rivera told me about, that Pastor Rivera told Oscar El Blue Ramirez about as well. And she says, I had nothing to do with the alleged kidnapping, in air quotes, of an unaccompanied minor, nor was the minor in question kidnapped. What? Which is it? Did you have nothing to do with it? Or are you telling me it didn't happen because you know? The minor wasn't kidnapped, and you, a 22-year-old, have decided you know the legal definition of kidnapping or how that would be charged in Mexico. I call BS on that. I call BS on that. I don't think you do know. I don't think you know what the heck you're talking about. I don't know that you should be admitting that you know about the kidnapping of a child. You just don't think it's a kidnapping in your opinion, in your lay opinion. And finally, she says, spreading my personal information. No, chica. When I put stuff up, this is a public post that you made on my YouTube channel. The other stuff, it has a little world symbol because you put it on public social media. You didn't make it private. I don't have access to your account. We ain't friends. I don't know you like that. So that information came from public information, not private information. Don't get it twisted. Spreading my personal information. Girl, you're running for office. You're like doing podcasts. You're out there putting your face on anything in the media that you can. Cuando te conviene, when it suits you. But for this, it's your personal information. Yeah. And sharing information about my family violates the privacy policy on this domain and others. Why did you share it in public then, Mensa? That's not my fault. That's your bad. Please take this video down as it is wildly incorrect and misleading, but I'm not going to tell you why. I'm not going to tell you how. I'm not going to give a single example of what it is that Cindy said that was wildly incorrect and misleading. I suggest you all go watch that show now. Because I could tell from her panicked messaging to YouTube and her panicked Facebook profile post that she is panicking a little bit. She is scared. She knows people are watching what she is doing now, and she knows that she made her bed, and now she's going to have to lie in that bed. This is what she posted on Facebook. She posted it on Facebook in a very long post. By the way, she posted the same exact thing in her Asylum Seekers Relief Fund page. This is the Sophia Marie Chudi, de Loreto Chudi, that I did a show on a couple of shows ago. And this is what it says. Hard to believe I would be the victim of my first political conspiracy at the age of 22, but here it is. While there are many disputes to be made about statements issued out by the producers of this video, I have to admit, after a morning of panic and distress, I am now a bit charmed. A friend told me today, if you're making the other side mad, it means you must be doing something right. While much of the information propagated by the host of this show is wildly false, and the connections they make beyond misguided, make no mistake, it is an honor to be referred to as being in close proximity of a powerful and inspiring change maker like Nicole Ramos, and lawmakers such as Congresswoman Barragan, and to be compared to young activist leaders like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The fact that my name is even on the radar should go to show how few organizers and resources are actually present in Tijuana. That's laughable. I have to just stop right there and go, are you crazy? That was the stretch, the leap in your imagination you wanted to make. No. Mexico, just ask people that live there like Oscar El Blue Ramirez. It's lousy with you activists. They don't want you there.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact alone that my name is even mentioned is a testament to the fact that there is so little support on the ground. That being said, and since the video directed you to my page, let me clear a few things up while you're here. One, I'm not staff of Representative Barragan. Although I am honored to help with her re-election campaign, I am not an aide. Okay, so you did work for her. Check.
Yeah.
2, the GoFundMe I created does not go to fund Al Otro Lado or Jewish Family Services or the San Diego Rapid Response Network. Should my work discontinue, however, I would be happy to donate the rest of the money I have raised to any of these organizations for the incredible work that they do. 3, I was not involved in the alleged kidnapping of an unaccompanied minor. I was in the WhatsApp message coordinating efforts of grassroots activists as described, but I stopped being an active participant in the conversations after the pastor Albert Rivera joined. No, you didn't. I'm going to read some of it tonight so that people can hear. You were still in there. You were still in there, girl. You were still in there after the conversations about the kidnapping took place. And you weighed in on it. You were in there. We'll talk about it in a minute. And she says, to my understanding... Oh, sorry, excuse me. Let me go back further. I remained in the message to stay informed by the others continuing the conversation. To my understanding, the unaccompanied minor in question was never kidnapped. He simply left because he was uncomfortable at the pastor's shelter because it had strict rules and rumors had circulated that his intentions, i.e. the pastor's, were never to help the Central American migrants. That has now been made abundantly clear by this reporting. Really? So now the pastor who has said that the activists that were part of all of this had something to do with the kidnapping of this child The fact that he reported this to the authorities, the fact that he reported that activists from the Caravan Support Network were supplying drugs to the Caravan, and that lawyers from Al Otro Lado, who you work with, very closely with, are falsifying marriages in Mexico, that makes the pastor the bad guy?
Yeah.
That makes the pastor... You now believe even more firmly that the reason why you didn't like that pastor in that WhatsApp chat that you were part of is because he turned out not to care about the Caravan, just like the rumors said.
Yeah, yeah.
Not because you were involved in a conversation about the kidnapping of an unaccompanied minor, right? I had nothing to do with the kidnapping of an unaccompanied minor, but let me tell you that I did, and I do know about it, and this is my thoughts.
Exactly.
Well, she's only 22. It makes sense. Oh, by the way, she said, I am not on a list of activists tracked by the U.S. government. Give it time, babe.
Yeah.
Give it time. You're headed right in that direction. I have never been questioned in secondary at the border. 5, my middle name is Marie. Okay. And you know what? I will say I did get that wrong.
Okay.
I typed her name in so many times. I kind of memorized it as Sophia Maria because it rhymes in Spanish, you know? And when I was like, what's that girl's name? I mean, I'm looking at investigating so many different people. Things just start to blur together. Think about how many names, stories, histories I can give you off the top of my head, okay, from the research I've been doing for years. So yeah, it got a little fuzzy. I called her Maria. Her middle name is Marie. I got that wrong. I'm very sorry for that. I apologize to you for getting your middle name wrong. Now, let's go through the rest of your allegations of the wildly inaccurate things I reported. Shall we? Shall we? Let me just finish saying that she wrote at the end here, I stand by everything that I have personally said and done. I knew the risk of getting targeted by anti-immigrant hate groups. You're talking about me? No, I don't like fraudulent, crime-affiliated, say they're helping but not helping organizations or activists. People that are adjacent to groups that use violence and would break the law to help people cross into our country and create fraudulent asylum claims that hurts the entire system. That's what I'm against. I'm not against immigrants. I am not against migration. I am not against people requesting asylum. In fact, I've helped people in their claims for citizenship, legal documentation to work in this country, and all sorts of immigration-related cases. And I continue and will continue to do that. I think that you guys are giving out bad, false, dangerous, unethical information, and I think that people in the know, like me, should be able to call you out. If you have a problem with that, then I have a problem with you. So she goes on to say that she is I am proud of the person that I am and the work that I do. In their effort to smear my reputation, they amplified my activism. Yeah, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
You call it fake activism, fractivism, factivism. To which I say, la lucha continúa. The battle continues.
Yeah.
And then she posted the same exact thing on her other page that she has her fund on, right?
Yep. And also it's the official formal statement in response.
Oh.
It's the exact same statement, but now this is to the public, to everyone in the world. This is a formal response.
So let's go through some of these things, okay? I went back to her page. I'm like, what is she talking about? What is she? I said, she's parsing, she likes to parse the edges of what I said and how I said it. But you ain't pulling the blinders on over anyone's eyes, okay? This is the Asylum Seekers Relief Fund sharing Viento y Marea. This is a post that was made by the Asylum Seekers Relief Fund on January 4th. And it says, Can you put that up, honey?
Where you at?
Asylum seekers. Oh, wait. Are we in the interview with Sophia? Oh, wait.
This is where we left off.
Oh. That is the audio interview with Sophia Maria, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's play a section of this. I want you to hear what she had said in the past in a podcast that happened last year, sometime around the government shutdown. And in this interview, it's interesting because she talks about unaccompanied minors, which I think you should get a kick out of hearing. And also, she also talks about her activism, why she got into it, what she believes. Listen, because there's definitely you'll hear the same message from all of these different activists over and over and over again. They're working with the groups that organize. They're working with the people that organize. They're working with the people that manipulate the caravans and that are helping them to cross into the United States in a fashion that is not compliant with asylum seekers. And what is being said is similar by all of these people, while they obfuscate that they are actually part of the organization that is creating the problem. Take a listen.
I'm kind of the underdog, but,
Right.
I think it's important to have, you called me, a young woman at the beginning, but it's important to have young woman representation.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So tell me about ASRF. That stands for the Asylum Seekers Relief Fund. And this is really important, obviously. Well, tell us about what you do, first of all, and then we'll get into why it's important.
Okay.
What is the Asylum Seekers Relief Fund?
What I do is literally different every single weekend, but the essential idea is that I go down to the southern border, I go into Tijuana, Mexico, I visit the shelters and refugee camps that are there, the clinics that are available, work with other volunteers that are doing other projects, and I see the gaps where other organizations are not able to meet the needs of the asylum seekers, and I try to use the fund that I've built to fill those gaps. And whether it's me doing the actual work, sometimes I do literal, moving donations around to where they are actually going to be utilized, and sometimes it's buying certain supplies that they need. One time they just need, massive buckets to put clean water in so they could have clean drinking water. So it depends.
So you guys actually go down to the border, and this is the asylum seekers you're talking about. These are the ones who came from the Caravan, correct?
Yes, the ones from the Central American Triangle. They walked over 2,000 miles, and now they're sitting, waiting at our border.
Dang. They're just sitting there waiting. Walking 2,000 miles?
Yes.
That shit is crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. So what got you kind of motivated to go down there in Mexico and volunteer in the first place?
So it's actually kind of funny. Everyone back home, I'm from Oregon, recognized me as an activist. I was trying to reclaim the word activist. And a lot of the time I was stunted in my ability to do things because I was in school. And this year, I'm not. I graduated. And I was actually down visiting a friend in San Diego, and another one of my friends, he said he looked at my location, and he called me up, and he was like, Sophie, why aren't you in Mexico? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you're next to the border. Why are you not there doing something? And I was like, oh, my God, you're absolutely right. And it just clicked that I needed to be there and
that's
doing
dope.
something.
So basically, you saw a social need for people who needed something. You went there and filled that. Absolutely, that's really cool. I think people should vote for you on
Thank
Sunday.
you. It was actually a really wonderful thing for me to be able to get involved in, also because in college I studied political science, Latin American studies, and Romance languages, so Spanish and French. And everyone always joked, "What are you going to do with that?"
Yeah,
and here I am using all three.
Yeah, dude, that's what's up. I can't, I speak English and bad English myself. Use it very well. So what's it like down there in these, what's it like in these migrant camps? What are the people, what's it like down there?
A lot of times it's really frustrating. And so we see a lot of these major organizations that have capacity to do a lot, but they can't because of the politicized climate that Trump has made it.
Give me a little more details on that. What can they and can, well, you know what I'm trying to say. What can they and can't do? I can't talk tonight.
I don't want to speak ill of any organization, but we had, about 4 or 5, including World Central Kitchen. There was the Red Cross. We had UNICEF there, and they're only able to do so much in their capacity. So, UNICEF does childcare, and all they did was watch children in the camp. World Central Kitchen has been amazing, and they've provided, up to 2 to 3 meals a day for each like of 5 shelters and camps.
Right.
Red Cross was only able to assist people who had like immediate dire emergencies, medical emergencies.
Right.
And so like there's a lot of small things like athlete's foot and yeast infections are the 2 most common infections that you can get in a refugee camp, and they're not able to, you know, meet the needs of the people that have those. Even though it's super common, it's not an emergency.
Right. And those are the things that they can't do based upon specific things blocking them from doing.
It's not necessarily that they're being blocked. It's just that they don't want to be super involved there because
Right.
it is so politicized.
I see. Yeah, they don't want to get their name off the
It's
like we're
not
helping, you know,
Mhm.
migrants or people who are coming from
Both. I mean, all 3 governments, the Honduran government, the Mexican government, and the U.S. government are working against them there. So there's nobody really supporting anyone that's trying to help them, which makes it really difficult to actually do any of the work.
That is crazy. That is so crazy. So these people. So describe what the camps are like inside. I mean, have you gone inside the migrant camps yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I was there the first day that they got moved to one of the biggest camps that's there.
You were down there, dang, that's crazy.
Yes. And it was really funny because I went down there. I filled up my car full of donations and supplies that I just like mentioned to friends that I was going to go down there and do something. And they were like, here's some money. Go buy some, you know, diapers, wipes, feminine hygiene products, soap, water, things like that. And so I just filled my car with those, and I drove down to, it was the Benito Juarez was the original camp, and they had been moved. And so I got there, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I have no idea where they are. And I just did some research and finally figured out where they went, and it's this camp called Baratal, and it's about 30 minutes south of the border, and it's this old concert venue, and so it's completely cement. It's an outdoor venue, and there were just tents everywhere. There was like 2,000 people in tents with tarps, and I mean they're like up on the rafters. There's people like laying in mattresses in this place that looks like it's an old swimming pool, like put little camps behind bars.
Right.
It was just totally, I mean the first week it was a little bit of chaos because they were moving and they were switching who was in control of everything.
Right.
The shelters, though, a lot of them have moved out of the camps and into the shelters because, like I said, they're sleeping. It's open air. So they're sleeping outside. So a lot of them have moved further into the city and gone into shelters. And the shelters are run either by like religious organizations like churches, or they're run just by like people with good hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And they house, anywhere from 20 to like 150 migrants, or even just poor people, or Haitians, because Haitians have been there for a really long time.
That's crazy, really. Are they coming up from, Haitians are coming up from like Central America as well?
Well, the Haitians have actually been here since I think 2013 is what they were saying. And a lot of them have been blocked at the border also.
Yeah. Well, okay, so tell me about these migrants. Do you get a chance to get like up close and personal with some of them?
Yes.
Right.
I made personal collections with a number of them, and they say you're not supposed to do that in a refugee camp because you get attached. But they
are human. I mean, that's
they
not,
are human.
that's not fair.
I do hear a lot of their stories. I don't like to ask sensitive questions, but sometimes I'm just talking to them about their experience, and they tell me, certain facts about themselves. I talk with a lot of the unaccompanied minors, which are some of the most vulnerable ones there. They're currently being actually blocked by the Trump administration from crossing the border.
Wow. So let's talk about Trump a little bit. He's my favorite person in the whole wide world. Yeah, no, right. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, all my listeners are like, shut up. I got some Trump fans though who are listeners. But is it what he says it is? Is it like, are we dealing with like criminals and rapists? I mean, who is among these migrants? I'm serious. Like, I want to know who's coming. Do we need this wall? Is there a reason the government needs to be shut down? I mean, you've been down there. You've been to the front lines, right? Are the people in this caravan that he's so afraid of? Are we dealing with like, is MS-13 all 20,000 of them coming up from Honduras?
So the short answer is no. I mean, and they're not always like, the most like favorable people. There are some people that like hoot and holler when I walk by, and that's fine, but they're not MS-13. They're not violent criminals. They're not drug lords. I mean, the majority of the people that I work with are like mothers and children and unaccompanied minors who feel like they're literally fleeing for their lives. And I don't think a border wall is going to stop them. I don't think this government shutdown is worth it whatsoever. We know with pure fact that like 80% of illegal immigration comes in through the air, and they're just people that overstay
People
their
that
visas.
overstay their visas, yeah.
We
Border
know
crossings
that
are way down. It's way down.
there were like 400,000 illegal immigrants that came in last year, and that was still 80% down from the year 2000. We also know that the majority of the drug intake that we get comes from boats in the ocean.
From the port of entry, of course, yeah.
From port of entry and from boats in the ocean, and we haven't been putting any resources into the Coast Guard, and they even know that those shipments are coming in and aren't able to meet them or stop them because they're not, capacity to be able to do that. So no, I don't think a border wall is at all useful. I think it's really ridiculous.
We're not being invaded. You don't think?
No, and it's not a crisis. Okay,
I was just about to ask you about that. Like, what's the crisis down there? Is there a crisis? I mean, are we dealing with a crisis?
The crisis is that we've stopped them and put them in a place where they can't do anything for themselves. The crisis is that we've made it extremely difficult to enter by legal means. But however, there is not a crisis of immigration in that we are being invaded. This has been an issue that has transcended like multiple administrations throughout the decades. This is not an immediate. Like, this needs to be dealt with now. This is something that's going to ruin us. If we were to allocate those resources to having more Border Patrol agents that were able to process cases, more lawyers, we wouldn't have people stopped there, sitting there, camped out on the other side of the border. And that's the part that's the crisis, is that they're sitting in limbo.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Now there's always this talk about, especially coming from the right, especially from the Trumpians, always talking about, oh, you guys want crime and you want open borders and you want people just to spill into the country like we ain't got a country and yada, yada, yada. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and clear the record and say I'm not for any of that. I would love border security, and I think that's something that the Democrats have been trying their best to offer Donald Trump without having to put a stupid wall up in what I would think is a stupid wall. I don't know how the rest of y'all feel about that, but that's how I feel about it. But let me ask you this: do you think these people should have the right to wait in the United States? First of all, you don't think that there's any crime or anything that's blind. So we already established that with the open borders. But do you think these people have the right to wait in the United States while seeking asylum? Because for my listeners that don't know, I think there's some sort of statute that was passed that said that, because before Donald Trump, you were able to wait for asylum. While you're waiting for asylum, for immigration court rather, waiting to stand in front of a judge, you can chill here in the United States until your court date. Sometimes people show up, sometimes people don't. Donald Trump makes it seem like nobody shows up, and that's just not true. A lot of the people that have to show up are children, and they have no representation, and they got to sit there and argue in front of an immigration judge and looking at the immigration judge like, what the hell are you talking about? But anyway, do you think that's fair?
So I think the first thing that we have to look at is what seeking asylum actually means. And that is that you are asking for protection because your government was unable to give it to you, and you are willing to give up ever being able to return home. That's what the asylum ask means, is that you don't, it's so bad there that you are never going to return home. And so I think when you're fleeing violence and persecution and your government was unable to protect you, that you should have a right to be able to wait in a safe place.
Right. And
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I hear you. And is Tijuana a safe place?
In my experience, I have been careful, but I have been privileged in that I have the ability to find safe places and be in safe places and work in safe places, and others don't.
Right. So we were talking about the Democratic Party platform just a minute ago. Like, what is good comprehensive immigration reform? Because, and I'm going to fill my listeners in on one more little thing. So the government shut down real quick. So Donald Trump tried to offer the Democrats a little deal. And he was like, yo, okay, what I'll do, give me my money for a wall so I can get my wall, and I'll offer temporary protection for DACA recipients. In other words, they can stay here for like 6 months without having to worry about getting kicked out. And of course, that's kind of like what kind of stupid ass deal is that? But anyway, so of course Nancy Pelosi said no deal, no dice. And that was just kind of ridiculous. But what is good comprehensive immigration reform, you think? Like, what should we do for people who are seeking asylum here, who come here into the United States, and let's say they get it, and for like the DACA recipients who've been here? What do you think, based off of what you've seen down there?
I think that DACA recipients should have extended protections, and I think that they should even have up to, the right to have in-state tuition if they're attending universities, protections for dreamers. I think that we should be able to offer asylum to people who are fleeing domestic violence and drug-related gang violence. And those are two things that he's actively tried to block, which I just think is so ridiculous because...
I mean, that's a good reason to be seeking asylum, I would have.
Right. I want to be clear that I am not a supporter of just open borders. I think that nobody really is, and I think that we need to stop bringing that up in conversation because, Trump continues to say that, Democrats want open borders, but no, Democrats have met Republicans almost every time they've asked for tighter border security, and I think that if he were to drop the issue of the wall, we could go into like really strategic and intense border security with things like fiber optic cables and, better surveillance and things like that. And Democrats are often able to, agree on a budget for that because we all want to have legal ways to enter the country. But I think if we're going to tighten border security, we also need to be making the process easier, more accessible, more available to those who are interested in getting legal status in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I think just the process of becoming a citizen here in the United States is just ridiculous. I think that's why most people just don't bother with it. Yeah. They just kind of get over it when they kind of get here and they go through the process. It's not easy to become a citizen in a lot of other countries either. Like if you go to Norway, you have to speak Norwegian or some shit like that. Like you don't speak the language, gots to go. Like what?
From some of the people that I've talked to too, they recognize that the process isn't easy and that it's not quick and that they don't have time to wait for it. And so I've talked to a few of them who are like, I don't care how I do it. I just need to cross the border.
Is that right?
It comes down to it for them because they're like, it's not safe for me here. It's not safe for me back home. And the only way that it's going to be safe is I get to the other side.
Wow. That's insane. Well, that's something else. Well, I got to give you some props on all of your work that you're doing. God bless you for what you do. So you have like social media or someplace people can check you out?
Okay. We're done. I just wanted you to hear from her own mouth what she feels. And it's so schizophrenic because, like, we do not think that, we want open borders. Nobody's saying that. Of course, we want border security, but we don't want a wall. And also, there's a bunch of people that I think should get asylum that right now don't qualify for asylum. They're saying that Trump is trying to block that. No, the law is already like that. You're trying to expand it, and you're trying to expand it in an artificial way that, as we've been told by Pastor Albert Rivera, includes fake marriages, includes fraudulent claims. That's not the way to do it. Circumventing the system is not the way to do it. It doesn't actually help those who are trying to create pathways to citizenship for people that they feel really do have the right to stay here. This is a post from her page, Asylum Seekers Relief Fund. It says, a week ago today, we were visiting this camp. This is the protest camp, the one that they held in the streets. They wouldn't give up. The ones that went into Viento y Marea, okay? The ones that had the standoff with the federal police. That's who they were taking clean underwear and drinking water to, okay? And she said, on Sunday, I brought clothes and bottle to a 14-month-old girl living in this camp. And it infuriates me to think that these protesters, these activists, were keeping these members of the Caravan in the streets in the most horrible conditions, blocking traffic and commerce for the people living there, closing 2 nearby schools because the kids were too scared. The parents were too scared to send their kids to school. And they were doing that, manipulating these people and then posting things like, we were at the camp where we see little kids suffering. Yeah. And when they're asked, as they were asked by Paloma in some of her videos, like, hey, are you telling the people that there's a shelter over there that has water and electricity and you're going to be inside in cleaner conditions? Are you telling them they should go over there? And they're like, oh, no, we don't tell them what to do. We don't tell them what to do. You don't tell them to go someplace safe?
Yeah, really.
You tell them to stay in uncertain conditions that could put them and their kids at risk? And then they complain when 2 of the kids got killed. 2 kids got killed. Oh, this is the government and the badness of Tijuana.
Yeah.
Of course, then she talks about how he asks her, is Tijuana safe? And she's like, it is for me.
Yeah, really.
because I'm privileged.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the other people that we brought here, very, very unsafe for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, really? Since when? Because it seems to me like people like her travel to our country all the time to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Travel to Tijuana to have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a place people go with frequency to have fun in Mexico.
Yep.
Anyway, if you look at the bottom of this post that was from January 4th, she's reposting a post by Angel, and in it, they're sharing 2 links. One to Voces Sin Fronteras, one of those platforms where a lot of these people that I have been sharing with you from the Caravan Support Network page posted it. And the second one is from Sam Slovic, the Hollywood actor, filmmaker, journalist, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then, next, I'm going to show you the Voces Sin Fronteras post that was linking to, which goes to this post of a video that was put up about the closing of that warehouse. You see the press conference being held there in the still of the video with one of the leaders of that Viento y Marea caravan. He was the one that spoke a lot for them. The Mexican lawyers are attempting to secure a temporary restraining order to prevent a noon eviction at Benito Juarez. This is the same group of immigrants that ended up at the Agape shelter, folks. I just want you to keep that in mind with Pastor Albert Rivera. These are the same folks, same activists, same people. And then it goes on, a privately owned space legally occupied by members of the migrant caravan. That's not true. It was condemned.
Yeah.
Nobody was supposed to be there anymore, and they were doing a number of things that were health code violations all the way to the last minute. It says, so far, massive amounts of press and volunteers delivering food had been able to stall the police who have surrounded the building. These are the subversive posts of subversive actors. And that's what they were doing out there. They were subverting the law and using these migrants as shields to protect themselves and their activities there. In this next post from her page, this is the other link that from that post that she had on her page. It goes to the Sam Slovic video that was posted from inside and upstairs by Sam Slovic when they were being evicted. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It says, please, and eviction, right in the post. Comments. So we know that he's talking about the moment when the eviction happened. And you know who was there. Evan Duke III, the Antifa leader. We had several Antifa people that were in that group. Jamie Skepkowicz or whatever her name was. Lilith Sinclair, Joshua Nichols, the people, River Doherty, the guy that kidnapped Carlos, that was driving the car that kidnapped Carlos. So the very same people that I had been reporting on ended up as part of this. This is the original post from Angel. And it says, please share potential eviction starting at migrant camp in Tijuana right now. Keep your eyes open. Calls for legal observers, lawyers, NGOs on the ground to prevent riot cop invasion. Updates still incoming. And then it says, migrant justice, immigration, migrant caravan. And there, of course, are the 2 links that I just shared with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's a post that she was promoting on her page. In addition to everything I've already showed you, that was one of them. Now here is another post. In this post, you will see that the Asylum Seekers Relief Fund, that's her page, posted San Diego Rapid Response Network. What did they post about? It says, we have an urgent need. What's your need? Oh, you want donations?
Yeah.
So she was fundraising on her page for San Diego Rapid Response Network?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, here's proof of it. It says they need small pants, sweaters for men. They're receiving 137 people, and they don't have enough clothes to wear. And if you can help tonight, please send a private message, and we'll pick up. coordinate pickup. San Diego Rapid Response. It says, thank you for the amazing and quick response. Our San Diego Rapid Response Network coordinator picked up from several people yesterday. She'll be unable to do that today. For security reasons, we do not have people, unless they have been cleared by the shelter manager, drop off directly at the shelter. Please drop off your donations at one of the following locations. Please let them know that your donation is a direct response to this post asking for small size clothing items so that the churches can know to take them to the shelter as soon as possible. And then the 2 places that are listed are Good Samaritan Episcopal Church, UTC area in San Diego, and Our Lady of Guadalupe Catholic Church in Chula Vista. Okay. So that's another post. And she said that her fundraiser, that's how she distinguished what I said, which was that she fundraised for these people, from that her fundraiser, her particular GoFundMe that she set up did not go to them. No, of course, I showed the one that you posted that went to you, to your organization. That's a no-brainer, of course. But you also did fundraising posts for these other people that I said you did. Mm-hmm. Here's the one where you were fundraising for Jewish Family Services of San Diego. In this one, posted on December 29th in your page, Asylum Seekers Relief Fund, it says, GoFundMe at the bottom of this picture showing these migrants. Click here to support, help migrant families organized by Jewish Family Services of San Diego. Mm-hmm. And this post shows that she was raising money for minors. It says unaccompanied minors. Oh, wait, she's talking about unaccompanied minors. Excuse me. It says unaccompanied minors are among the most vulnerable asylum seekers. Many young people between the ages of 13 and 17 are fleeing threats, family violence, and unimaginable trauma. There are networks of informal support and shelters available. Really? Because that's exactly what Pastor Rivera talked about with Senator Merkley. That there were informal support networks and shelters available. Huh. But as we have seen in the past few weeks, traveling alone can be deadly. She goes on, after the murder of 2 teenage caravanners, shelter and support groups are doubling down efforts to protect and care for these teens. Items like backpacks and cell phones are necessary for them to be able to keep track of their things and get places safely. All items will be sent to and distributed by a group that coordinates donations for unaccompanied youth, specifically.
Yeah.
And the shelters that serve them. For their safety, the address and names will not be publicized. But she infers that she knows what those names are.
Yeah.
And then here's one that posts an article in which it says what, Duke?
Thank you to all who contributed to the donations brought down by volunteers at Border Angels this weekend. We look forward to continuing this work with you.
Yes. And then in that article, if you open it up and you read it, you will find something very interesting. Very, very interesting. Which makes me think this is one of the reasons why she shared it, because it's so interesting. Mm-hmm. It talks about the fact that And she's thanking the volunteers, right?
Yep.
Implying that she knows the volunteers in this article. And she does. It says Caravan of Love delivers necessities. More migrant caravan camped in Tijuana. I guess I cut off that top part a little bit too fast, too soon. And it shows a picture and it says Border Angels volunteer Maggie Frazier on the left talks to Maria Suyapa, a Honduran migrant. And then they said that they brought a caravan of love of donations. And as you scroll down, it talks about different people that are there to volunteer, like Joseph Wizar. And he said he's a federal volunteer. And then lower down, you've got Border Angels of San Diego, based nonprofit. Led a caravan of 40 cars, jam-packed with donations from their headquarters in Sherman Heights across the border and into Mexico on Saturday, called the Caravan of Love. The group of more than 100 volunteers brought diapers, clothes, new shoes, and hygiene items to 3 different locations where migrants are sheltering in Tijuana. And the next paragraph after this picture says, one of their leaders of Border Angels, Leti Guzman, negotiated with Mexican federal police and those running the El Barretal shelter to allow volunteers to distribute their donation items directly to the migrants. Interesting. This is one of the people that had a standoff. She was at the other Viento y Marea shelter. She was one of the people also involved in that WhatsApp conversation. And like Chudy. And it says, our volunteers came here so that they could interact and fill a need. And they want to be able to hand these items to the persons in need themselves. No, you want to be able to circumvent the rules of these shelters. That's why you have all of these migrants saying they don't like to stay at that shelter because it has too many rules.
Yeah.
That's the same excuse they come up with all the time. An outpouring of support for the migrants surprised even the leaders with Border Angels, who were not expecting people to show up by the hundreds with thousands of donations on Saturday morning. So anyway, I wanted to show you something quite interesting. This is a video that was taken by Pastor Rivera of this Leti Guzman at Viento y Marea, and I'm going to try and translate as she speaks and he speaks about what's going on with this standoff with the police.
Buenas, ¿cuál es su nombre?
What's your name?
Mi nombre es Leticia Guzman.
Leti Guzman.
¿Puede decir qué es lo que está pasando aquí en el albergue?
Can you tell me what's happening here?
Lo que está pasando ahorita en
What's
el
happening
albergue,
here
pues ahorita estamos,
in the
están
shelter.
cenando los migrantes,
The migrants
muchos
are eating dinner.
activistas también
Many
igual.
activists are
Aquí
too.
la
We're
situación
here.
es
The
que a los
situation is that
activistas
activists,
quieren desalojar.
they want us
Quieren
to leave.
desalojar primero los activistas.
They want to get rid of the
así pueden
activists
entrar más
first.
rápido
That
a
way they can
desalojar
come
al
in
resto de la gente.
faster
Parece
and get
esa
rid
ser
of the
la
rest of the people.
estrategia.
That's
Ya
their
empujaron
strategy,
a
it
uno
appears. They've already
de
taken
los
one of our activists
activistas que estaban con nosotros hace,
that were with
hace
us
ratito,
just a little
lo
while ago.
empujaron,
They
lo
pushed him
sacaron.
out. They
Y
got him out.
ahorita
And so
no están dejando
they're
los,
not allowing any of us
los activistas,
of the
los
activists
activistas entrar al baño
to go into the
que está acá
bathrooms
afuera,
outside,
no están
the
dejando
porta
que
potties
vayan
outside.
al baño de que está allá afuera, porque si vamos al
If
baño
we
que
go
está
to
allá
the
afuera,
bathrooms
ya
out
no
there,
podemos cruzar
we can't come back in.
Si la cruzamos,
And so if we cross that line, then
Entonces está diciendo que
so you're
los
saying that
activistas no
the
pueden usar
activists
el baño
can't
y
use
si
the
usan
bathroom,
el
and if they
baño
go out
no
to use the
los dejan
bathroom,
entrar
then they won't
patas
let you come
al
back
albergue.
in to the shelter.
Entonces,
That's exactly
y
right.
entonces ¿cómo usan el
And
baño
how are you
ustedes?
using the
pues
bathroom?
ahorita, gracias
Well,
a Dios,
thank
tenía
God
una
I
amiga,
have a friend
una
that's
amiga allá afuera
that's
que le
outside. I
dije
told her, you know what?
que necesitamos,
We need,
¿cómo se dice?
how do you call it? Buckets.
Sí,
Buckets, yeah.
necesitamos cubetas para,
We need buckets
pues, para poner,
so that we can,
sí sabe, pues,
you know,
para hacer del baño,
so we can
sí,
go to the bathroom.
agarramos cubetas
So we
y
took
luego,
buckets and we
sawdust.
put sawdust.
cómo se
I don't know
dice en
how you
español.
say that in
Y para
Spanish,
eso, para
and we
que-
use
para que
sawdust
no
to
huela
cover
tanto, y luego
up
hay
the smell a little bit,
una carpa para que pueda cubrir un poco.
and
Pero
then
así es la situación,
put a little
estamos
lid on
ahí
it. But that's the
en
situation that
una-
we're
en una cubeta.
experiencing right now.
Okay,
We're going in
entonces
in a
todos los
bucket.
activistas están
All the
usando
activists
el baño,
here
puras cubetas,
are
porque
going
no los
in
dejan
buckets
usar el baño.
because they don't let them go out to
¿Sienten
use the
ustedes
porta
que eso es una
potties. Do you
violación de
think
sus
that
derechos
that's a
humanos?
violation of your
Sí.
human rights?
Sí.
Yeah.
Sí, por lo
Yeah,
menos ir al
because
baño, eso es, eso ya
getting
es
to go to the
inhumano,
bathroom, it's
que tengamos
inhumane
que
that
buscar
we have
otros
to
recursos para ir al baño.
find other
Y ellos
resources
nos
to go to the
provieron
bathroom.
las cubetas, fueron los
And
otros voluntarios que
the
nos están
volunteers
ayudando,
brought
que ya
us
se
the
habían salido
buckets
para afuera, que no
that
los
had already
dejaron
left,
entrar
that
otra
they
vez
wouldn't
adentro.
allow them to
Ellos
come
ya
back
saben
in.
cómo está la
They know
situación,
that
por
the
eso
situation
nos
is like,
trajeron.
that's why they brought us
Bueno, muchas
buckets.
gracias. ¿Otra vez su nombre?
All right, what was your name
Leti.
again?
Leti.
Leti.
Ok, muchas gracias, Leti.
Thanks. Gross. I'm sorry, but that's what they were doing. That's what they were doing it for, and they just cost the government resources and having this 6-day standoff while they pooped in buckets and held the standoff for no reason, no good reason. Nothing good came of that. Even in their WhatsApp conversation that I showed you before, you hear them talking about the fact that these activists did this for nothing. It wasn't helpful. All they did was to create animus with their local authorities, etc. And here is another of her posts. Oh, wait, no, I have to read to you now from the, okay, these were messages sent to me by Pastor Rivera of their conversations of what they were saying in the WhatsApp chat. It reads, this is the immigrant, this is his, Pastor Rivera speaking. This is the immigrant boy that the police is looking for. Rivers' American friend took the boy. This young lady is the one that took the boy with no mom or dad. This young woman was with an Afro-American lady about 23 years old. I asked for Rivers' help to call his friends and bring back the boy. I gave them until Monday to bring back the boy. Mexico DEEF, that is Child Protection Agency, is coming to Agape looking for the boy that the police placed in Agape's custody and made a police report and instructed Agape to register the boy so that Agape could have official legal guardianship of the boy. Since Rivers' friends did not bring back the boy, we will make an official police report. The police report is already in, and they are looking for the boy. But I am told that Agape needs to sign as a witness and take witness for all that happened with the boy and who took the boy, which American person took the boy. Agape staff members told the Americans that they could not take the boy without Agape's consent, that the police had put the boy in Agape's custody, that this can be considered a kidnapping, especially after the person that is taking the boy is friends of the person that told the boy they would kill him. We will be reporting the day that the organization, today, that the organization calling itself Caravan Support Network, which they now have changed to Border Support Network, has total knowledge about this boy and has direct communication with the persons that took the boy and also with the person that told the boy that they were going to kill him. Next speaks Leti. Just because they know the people doesn't mean that they are involved. If anything, put the report on the people that you claim took the boy, not the organization. It wouldn't be fair to others working in that organization that want to make a difference. But now that could be compromised by a police report. How do you know that they're friends? Are you assuming that's the case? He called her to return the boy. That was Pastor Rivera. He says that was me. Has the boy returned? That's Leti asking a question. And then Pastor Rivera says, no, we will request an Amber Alert. Leti, he said, I think he's talking to Leti here. Leti, I'm sure that they don't mean the boy harm and is safer than he would be elsewhere. The boy being placed in DEEF wouldn't be the best option in this circumstance. The boy was given into Agape's custody by the police. And then Estela Jimenez, which we have featured on our show before, says, Leti, ¿quién tiene al joven? Who has the boy? How long ago did they take him? I don't, sorry, excuse me for my questions. I'm a little bit disconnected. I've been out for about a week. Then Leti says the boy was under Alberto's responsibility. Oh no, they say this is said to at Leti that the boy was. This is Pastor Albert saying this to Leti. The boy was under Alberto's responsibility, and no one, even less American activist, should have interfered, perhaps. But all I care about is that the boy being safe, regardless of what he may have done, perhaps. Oh, that's a repeat. The point now is we don't know if he's safe while he was before. And then, oh wait, I think that was Estela J. Anyway, the next one is Pastor Rivera, I gave them until Monday to return the boy and to communicate with Agape. They have no interest in communication with Agape, or at least give an accountability about the whereabouts of the boy. There were probably so many other ways to take the boy into custody. This is really reckless. Keep us updated, please. Wait, is this out of order? Okay. Then it says, Pastor Rivera says, tomorrow we will go to the embassy of Honduras so that the Honduran embassy can place an Amber Alert. The pastor later found out that he was actually Guatemalan. And the pastor goes on, does anyone have a photo of the child? Waiting another day is not a good idea. Children who are missing have the best results of being found within 24 hours. Oh, that was Stephanie. And then the pastor speaks. I would do this immediately. I am concerned for this child and his safety. I hope this report is already done. You can see the boy in the video. She took She took the boy with an Afro-American young lady about 24 years old. When she took the boy, the person that said that he could kill the boy was following her vehicle. Stephanie says, thank you. Doesn't appear to be the issue. I thought it was. Hope he's safe. Then Letty says, who is that person? Who is that person speaking that you claim said that he would kill the boy? Seems like that's the only issue, the reason for this scandal. And then somebody named Stephanie, a different Stephanie says, it's still pretty sketchy the way it seems like he left with strangers. And I only say this because people in these situations are vulnerable to trafficking. Not saying that's happening in this situation, but the boy shouldn't have just been taken in that manner without other people who are knowing of his whereabouts. I think that the concern is that I'm getting from all this aside from the death threat. And then it says, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still trying to understand what's going on. What's the name of the organization that the people who took the boy work for? That was the Caravan Support Network. That's who the pastor referred to. And it goes on. This is so blown out of proportion. Let's suppose the child goes back to Agape. What then? Those activists, the ones that were staying at Viento y Marea, those activists stayed with the migrants inside Contra Viento y Marea day and night for a week to make sure the migrants were treated with respect and dignity. They also exposed the treatment from the Mexican federal police against the people inside the warehouse. They are literally putting themselves on the line to protect migrants. They simply don't want any more harm to be done. Reporting the child to DEEF because of what he did will result in putting the child in an orphanage in Tijuana. Mind you, some of these orphanages are like prisons for kids. So, that was Leti speaking. That was the Leti you just saw talking about pooping in buckets.
Okay.
The death threat alleged came from Frank, which really doesn't make sense to me since he's been active on making sure everyone is safe and treated humanely. Frank is the son of Ney, the one that was the spokesman at Contra Viento y Marea. I understand perhaps it wasn't the best outcome. That was Leti speaking again. However, there needs to be a point where everyone meets in the middle. Then Zach says, Leti, since you seem to know the people involved, can you reach out to them to clear this all up? And then says, thank you so much, Leti. I know personally that I let that boy... Oh, this is Lilith Sinclair speaking. Thank you so much, Leti. I know personally that I let that boy sleep in my vehicle the night before anybody from the warehouse event went to Agape at all. If I had any inkling of the worry about his whereabouts, I'd be actively voicing it here. But I'd personally much rather know he's getting one-on-one complete attention than being an unaccompanied minor in any shelter. And then Stephanie says, I work in the field of human trafficking and something totally not right here. Not happening to the child, but the reason is something very untrustworthy here in this whole thread with videos that's Stephanie. And then because of these allegations, the fear to expose themselves, because of the allegations and the fear to expose themselves, Mexican police are no joke. That's Zach and Leti speaking. And then it says, well, be that as it may, can you mediate between the pastor and the people with the boy? That was Zach. I can try, but there has to be an alternative rather than taking the boy to DEEF. That's Leti. They're literally trying to negotiate whether or not they follow the law.
Yeah.
Whether or not they return a child that they took from the shelter. And then Zach says, okay, I'm sure someone else can be arranged. I think he meant something. Then it says, there are no strangers. I do not know all the details. But the people who took the kid had been assisting the group closely, and the caravanners really trust them. They have been giving legal advice and humanitarian assistance whenever the government didn't. I think they asked the kid to go with them to protect him, not to kidnap him. If they did not take the child to a safe place, the police would have arrived for him. And in general, this group of caravanners does not trust the police for the forced eviction and the past shelter. In fact, they fear the police. And then, that was Karla. And then it says, that is exactly what's going on. So Leti, do you know if the place the boy is currently is safe and equipped with all the resources necessary to provide sufficient care for him? That was Zach. And then Sophie Marie says, this is Sophie Marie, the Sophie Marie that we've been saying that
left the conversation.
That left the conversation. It wasn't in the conversation. Doesn't know anything about the kidnapped child. Says, from what she's saying in the video, it seems to me like the boy wasn't happy to be there and wanted to leave. Just my observation. It is a shelter. Is it a shelter or a private home? Are there other migrants there as well? That was Zach asking about where the boy is. And then Lilith Sinclair says, I'd also like to add, the DEEF is not an option, and it's very, very probably that they are going to deport the kid again against his willingness. So it is better if he is with some NGO or shelter with attention to unaccompanied minors. That's Leti G. That was Leti G, excuse me. Then it says, that is the night before anyone went to Agape, when donations were going over, the pastor asked me to give the boy a ride in my vehicle with the food. I asked the kid if he would stay there, and he said before anyone from the warehouse got to Agape that he really didn't want to stay there. He just wanted to ride in the car and see the place and come right back. He never wanted to be there and expressed multiple times he had no plans of staying there because the idea made him uncomfortable. The next night, when I slept in the street next to this kid, we got threatened with arrest by municipal police for sleeping on the sidewalk. Him and I slept in my car that night. I'm very invested in his well-being, and I know that he does not want to be there. And in my opinion, he would likely try to run away if forced back. That's Sinclair, Lilith Sinclair. That was Kiara Horsley. Can Leti or anyone else here answer this? Zach was asking if anyone knows where the boy is and if the location is safe for the boy. And they go on talking about this. I just wanted to get to the part where Sophie Marie weighed in on the kidnapping of the boy she knows nothing about and had nothing to do with, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? Then I also want you to hear this is the Asylum Seekers Relief Fund sharing Estefania Rebelon update about what's going on at El Barretal. You can see here, it starts off in quotes, and it says, lately we've noticed there's a lot of information being shared on social media that's not necessarily accurate. So here the Asylum Seekers Relief Fund is sharing real updates that are accurate, as opposed to all the lies being spread about how there's no electricity and water.
Yeah.
They're the ones spreading the lies, and they're like, just so you don't get any false information out there. And this post is by Estefania Rebelon. I am sure, as you know, it's full of untruths, half-truths. I'm not going to even read all of them to you, but just if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see that there is, I mean, some of it, it's accurate that, you know, they're getting fed by the Marines, etc. But if you get all the way to the bottom, you will see it's signed Estefania. That's Estefania Rebelon. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then, and it says in there, families belong together will also be kindly concerning the cost of the project. Remember, Estefania Rebelon works with the Hollywood folks.
Yeah.
And then we have Estefania Marie posting about, in another post later, can you go back to the top and show them what the date on that is? This is posted just so you can see that she gave her agency and credibility and admits that she worked very closely with her in the beginning. And then she realized, oh, it's a fraud. This was December 10, 2018. And then in January, I believe, this is a post that she made about, do not give this woman your money. She's a fraud. It's a PSA type of announcement, she says. It says, do not donate on January 17th to GoFundMe. And it says, it is with personal disappointment and disgust that I must announce that this is a fraudulent fundraising campaign. I know this as an absolute fact for these reasons. I worked closely with this woman, Estefania Rebelon, during my first 2 weeks providing immediate relief to the refugees in Tijuana. During the third week, she approached me asking if I would help her in building an organization using the work that I had already done to legitimize her efforts. Legitimize her. Notice. When she wanted my help in building was an organization she hoped would expand worldwide, and even told me on the phone that it would be comparable to multi-million-dollar businesses like Apple and Facebook. At that time, I had no real direction, so I said no. I was uncomfortable with her ethics and her lack of formal education on the subject of refugee camps. And yet, you worked closely with her the first 2 weeks you were there.
Exactly.
You didn't have a check in your ethics then. You didn't tell people, hey, I don't know about this woman or her ethics. It doesn't seem right, so I wouldn't endorse or support her. Instead, you went ahead and endorsed and supported her. And then she goes on to say, her lack of formal education on the subject of refugee camps, the asylum process, Latin American-U.S. relations, and nonprofits. But I hope to continue working with her, providing relief within the camps. Oh yeah, what could go wrong? After that, she actively attempted to block my ability to bring humanitarian aid into the camp because of the work that I had already completed and my close connection to those running the camp and those taking refuge in the camp. I was able to continue to work despite her vendetta. She's also since blocked me and my teammates on Facebook. Because of my network in Tijuana, my close communications to the leaders of the camp, local patrons, asylum seekers, and activist leaders, I know for a fact that the camp that she is advertising the school will be built in will be closed at the end of the month. I have photographic proof that there is no more than 100 migrants left in the camp and no more than 10 children, and they will not be staying there through the end of the week. Third and most troubling fact is that I know that as of last week, she was stripped of her credentials to enter and work in the camp, and so was her illegitimate organization, Yes We Can. It pains me to share this with you and to see how misleading someone can be and to be profiting off the suffering of others. Please share this knowledge with others. And yet, it seems you are doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and remember, this is the HCL 5 leaders that included Jay Ponte, and this is that group that runs with Francis Fisher that I talked to you about, brought all these shenanigans to Standing Rock. And next I'm going to show you another of her posts from Sophia Marie, who doth protest too much that she has nothing to do, doesn't do anything, nothing done, from her own page, tagged with Neely O'Hara, who I believe is an attorney, if I don't recall incorrectly. If I do recall incorrectly, I don't know. I can't remember exactly. It says Sophia Marie posted, "Hey y'all, is there anyone in the greater LA or SoCal who is available to provide a night or two of emergency housing to a young woman seeking asylum in the U.S.? Her sponsors are going through some personal issues, and we're working hard to find her a new sponsor. So this would just be temporary emergency housing starting as soon as tonight or tomorrow a.m. Direct message me if you're interested. How many of these have you seen, Duke? Uh-oh, sponsor we had not working out.
Yeah. And how can you change sponsors? Just
on the fly, I guess.
I guess you can just change sponsor. You don't have to have a formal paperwork or deal with the courts or anything like that.
I think there's something missing here, and I think all of that does have to happen, and I don't think that they're really worried about making sure it does happen.
Yeah.
And it's troubling. Now, remember I told you that the activists that are working to block the border construction, that are working to have open borders, that are working on these types of issues, which she says they're not even part of. They're not for open borders, no. But groups that are people like the Tohono O'odham tribe, okay? Because they say that a border wall would divide them. And so here's a post that she has of the Tohono O'odham's PBS story on her page. And it's titled, "The U.S.-Mexico Border, Tribal Nation Fights Wall That Would Divide Them." You know who they're supported by and working with? Anarchist Antifa leader Evan K. Duke, the guy that was the founder of the Border Support Network. The Border Support Network, okay? Mm-hmm. That you heard them talking about. The group that helped kidnap this kid. The group of activists that were the group that were providing drugs to the caravan.
Wow.
And here is one of the other persons that you heard commenting in this post, Karla Castillo. This is from her Facebook page. And this is what she said happened to her. Remember, she said, "I am not on a list." Mm-hmm. She just wanted you to know she's not on a list, okay? Interestingly, mm-hmm. It seems that she might be on a list. I don't know. Anyway, by the way, I don't know if I want that. I think I like it better like that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I need to. I think I can translate it better in the original, and then the Google Translate does, because it sounds jankety when they translate it, and they don't translate it correctly all the time. And I prefer to do my own translation. It says, "When I was in Tijuana, I had an intimidating experience that was very disagreeable, and it happened to me and Leticia." That's Leti Guzman. "In the middle of a situation that I still don't understand completely, we were taken by three women that they told us that they were they were working on behalf of the caravan to go and find búsqueda de un terreno para levantar and to go and look at a piece of land for the construction of a shelter, an emergency shelter. What was supposed to be 15 minutes turned into nearly 2 hours of travel without even going to the supposed land. They took us to the top of a mountain that didn't have any roads, without any light, without any communication, in middle of nowhere. At that very moment, I started to pray that nothing bad would happen to us. Nobody would know where we were, nor what had occurred to us. The situation became a discussion in which the women began to say racist commentaries against the caravans. They talked about, they spoke to us harshly. They told us that they recorded our conversation and that they had a relationship to the governing body of Tijuana. I never talked about it openly because it still appears to me to be an unreal and incomprehensible thing that happened. Every time I left a migrant shelter, I was paranoid. The police themselves in Mexico had intimidated us. On one occasion, I witnessed when one of the police officials threatened to deport one of the migrants from Honduras without any reason whatsoever. Le dije que eso, I told him that was a psychological torture. The official questioned me about my nationality, and he spoke to me as authoritatively, with unilateral authoritativeness. He demanded that I get out of there. Particularly, I saw the vulnerability of being a Central American activist. Yesterday, NBC7 San Diego revealed a list that the government of the United States has created, where they have registered the names of lawyers, activists, human rights defenders of the Caravan as targeted of the investigation targeted by the scrutiny of interrogations. Colleagues of mine with which I went, colleagues of mine with which I stood on the field, in the front lines basically, appear on this list. Colleagues whose work has been to bring humanitarian and legal assistance to the refugees and migrants. Que si como centroamericana viviendo en Estados Unidos debería de callar. Should I, as a Central American living in the United States, be quiet about this? Obviously, I do feel vulnerable. But despite that, we have done nothing more than to fight for human rights. This humanitarian cause work is not a crime. With fear, but with rage, I will continue my path. Okay. So she identifies that a lot of people she knows on that list, bad stuff is happening to them as a result of this stuff that they're doing out there. Guess who else she posted, Duke?
Who?
Jessie Smollett.
No.
Yeah. Sophia Marie posted in support of the Jessie Smollett hoax, hate crime. To anyone who may struggle with their sexual orientation despite this news, it will get better. Keep going. To everyone, we can do better job of protecting our neighbors from acts like this. And it has a picture of Jessie Smollett, and it says, New York Times, Jessie Smollett, star of Empire, attacked. What police call a possible hate crime.
Yeah.
And he also posted this very important person from Pueblos Sin Fronteras. She also posted, Alex Mensing. She posted Alex Mensing's post from December 25th. One of the leaders of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, who has his avatar, has the picture from the list, the database of people being investigated.
I see that.
And it says, just got a call from the Hielera in San Isidro, the freezing cold cells where Border Patrol holds immigrants when they are detaining them. A member of the Caravan, the Central American Exodus, was forced to cross the border before his chance to present at a port of entry because he received death threats in Tijuana and couldn't afford to wait for his turn in line. A line created by the U.S. government's refusal to respect the right to seek asylum. He's been in the Hielera for a week. Others there have been held for over 3 weeks. The water they're given to drink makes them ill. They have no real medical attention. The officers insult and intimidate them, discourage them from seeking asylum, tell them if they don't have an attorney, they don't have rights. This is his Christmas Eve. This is his welcome to the USA. This is the beginning of his next step in the cycle of forced displacement and criminalization. And there are 12 people besides Jeff Valenzuela that are tagged in this post by Alex Mensing, leader of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, a man investigated currently on the watch list and being interrogated by the U.S. government. And that list of tags in this post includes some important people. Okay? The first one there is Megafono del Pueblo. Check it out. Lopez Cris, Brendan Cassidy, Irineo Mujica, one of the leaders of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, one of the founders of Pueblos Sin Fronteras. Okay? Ian Philly Baum, Gina Garibo, which I told you also works with Pueblos Sin Fronteras. She was the one in the Teen Vogue magazine link of the video that was removed by her. Then there's Magdalena Rampancias Cerda, Luis Guerra, Nicole Ramos, Elena Alderman, Tristan Call, and PJ Podesta. All very interesting people. So, just to make it clear, just to be clear, all I wanted was to expose one of the many people that have participated in some way in this conversation that involved the kidnapping, the taking of an unaccompanied minor from the Agape shelter, the fourth of its kind that I have reported on thus far. And this woman says that a lot of the information is wildly false or misleading. I beg to differ. And I bring receipts to the table so that all of you can see my work. I am doing nothing more than exposing the truth. Thank you for being here on A Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You've been listening to 88.1 FM, KPPP-LP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Thank you and good night.